an attorney. The views and opinions of the guests and hosts you hear are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or its advertisers.
The following programming is pre-recorded programming and is not a live broadcast.
What's up, Baltimore? Are you ready for a show like no other? This is Radical Radio, a show where we take you from surviving to thriving. If you can think it and you can say it, then you can see it. Join us every Saturday at 12:30 p.m. on Praise 106.1 FM. Come on, Baltimore. Let's get radical. Please welcome Pastor B and PK.
What up, Baltimore?
What up, Baltimore?
How y'all doing out there today?
It is the ball and chain here,
I'm
Radical
Pastor
Radio.
B, and I'm the ball, and she's the chain.
It's PK in the house.
She's the ball, and I'm the chain. No matter how you put it, we
We're
ain't
not
going nowhere.
anywhere.
It must be Saturday. It must be 12:30 because it's time for Radical Radio.
Yes, I'm excited about today.
You excited about today?
I'm excited about today.
Now, why are you excited
It's
about today,
Women's
PK?
Month.
It's
Women's
It
Month.
is. And the first 2 weeks, we ain't talk about the women at all.
At all.
But now today.
Just church foolishness.
It is what it is. We got to get the people right and tight.
Yes.
Summer's coming up.
Summer's coming up.
We got to get them together
That's
before
why my
they.
abs hurting now.
That's right, because you trying to get right and
Trying
tight
to
too.
get my body right and tight.
That's right, PK. Get it together. Get it together. So look, PK. I was thinking, and I'm like, man, it's Women's Month. I'm trying to honor the women, right? Because
Right.
You guys do so much for us. You guys are just amazing, right?
We are.
You are amazing. You a man, but you got a womb.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you a womb man. Like
Yes.
that is crazy
Come on,
to
break it
me.
down break the Bible
you know what
down
I mean?
to the people.
You put stuff in there and you just bring out more than what we put in, you
Yes.
know? And so that's amazing because your womb is what cultivates and holds a thing and then it makes it better. And so we
Absolutely.
can't do what you guys can do. And I'm just thankful and grateful to have such a woman like you in my life. And I'm grateful to have daughters that are growing up to be beautiful,
Oh my
strong
gosh,
women.
Thank you.
And so I just honor you today in the middle of Women's Month.
Thank you.
But I want to dive into a topic that, that I felt like was a little old school, right? But then all of a sudden we read some information that says that what used to be still is, right? It's kind of like the racism thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's 2023. Ain't no way in the world we still dealing with
And
racism.
We are.
And we are.
We are.
Right? And so this is the type of thing for me. And so today I want to talk about women in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about women and them leading because you a pastor.
I am.
Right? And so it's not like, you some assistant or you some second. No, you are a full-blown pastor.
I am.
And so for me, I want to talk about this whole thing that we used to have to go through back in the day that apparently we still have to go through today with it being a problem with it being a woman in the pulpit. Now y'all can lead corporations.
Yeah.
Y'all can have our babies.
Yeah.
Y'all can do all these things, but you can't get in the pulpit. And then I started thinking about the other thing that y'all must can't do either is y'all must can't run the country because we ain't had no woman as a president either.
We getting close.
So
close.
I'm like, yeah, don't hurt my man. Don't hurt the president just to get one in there though.
Right.
Like I know people are like, ooh, we got an opportunity. But yeah, so what do you think about women in the pulpit and how some people view it as being a problem? What do you think about that?
I think that they are sexist.
Yes.
I think that they're sexist.
The racism and sexism still exists.
And I think that it's buried in religion. And I think that they are selective to what they want to believe in the Bible. And so not only do I call them hypocrites, I also and first of all, I'm not judging because I believe that we are all dirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are all dirt.
Yeah.
And it is just how we were created. But I think that it puts it into, it's unfortunate because we are selective as pastors in what we decide to focus on in the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's blasphemy, because if you choose to preach certain things in the Bible and not the whole Bible in its entirety, then you're spilling a false narrative.
That's right.
And I think that it makes people have a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, what, how else could you leave a person, right?
Right.
You know, we just named a couple of things that we say that y'all good for,
right.
But then you say
That's
some
all.
other stuff that you ain't good enough
right.
for.
That's all we're good for.
You know what I'm
saying?
saying?
Some people ask, that's all we're good for, and it goes. We see it in marriage
in 2023.
We see it in marriage when it comes to gender roles.
Yeah.
Right? That the men are supposed to take out the trash, and the women are supposed to cook, and the women are supposed to clean. And I don't think that is what God intended when he created a man and a woman, because he purposely said that it was not good for man to do this thing called life alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. And I believe that includes preaching.
Absolutely.
And pastoring.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If you get called to the office, then that means that he called you, he didn't call you sex.
Right.
He
Absolutely.
didn't call you gender.
Absolutely.
He called a person, right? And so I think that's crazy that we don't really get that even now. And so when you talk about what God intended.
Right.
How do you feel like God intended for women to be pastors?
Well, I think it goes back to the word. When you look at the various stories in the word of God, you see the move of God. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing that came to my mind when we started talking about this discussion is I thought about the lady at the well. Now, the lady at the well was with men.
Right.
None of them were her husband.
Correct.
but she was with men. That was her focus. And then her focus shifted from the men that she was laying with to the man that laid hands on her.
Right.
And then the moment that she became engulfed with the Spirit, she ran and told the gospel.
That's right. That's right. So she was in the pulpit at that point.
That is exactly what she did.
Yeah.
And I think people, because the Bible does not say that she went and she built a church, because the Bible did not say that she stood on a platform, because the Bible does not say that she held camp meets. Right? Mm-hmm. And had people under her stewardship.
Right.
They negate the fact that the Bible says that she ran and she told the people about the person that saved her. And that is what the call of the Father does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even believe that the characteristics of a woman are more catered to being a pastor than a man in all actuality, right? Because when you talk about caring for people, nobody cares for people like women do.
Absolutely.
When you look in the hospitals, you see women nurses. Mm-hmm. You know, when you look in these caregiving places, after age and all of that type of stuff, you see women in those places because they have the larger capacity to care for the people. And so really, I look at these men who think that it's crazy for a woman to be a pastor, and I would put a woman up against them any day.
Absolutely. But you do see the same thing when it comes to seeing men become nurses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because people assume that a nurse should be a woman.
Right.
They automatically assume that.
Yeah.
And so, going back to the Bible, when you look throughout the Bible and you see how God used women, most times, and I'm not saying that the angels didn't come before the men, but a lot of occurrences, the angels spoke to the women.
Absolutely.
And then the women had to deliver the message of what the angel said. And so for people to, even in 2013, look at it as if this is a woman's job. I was even reading or believe that women got these titles by default. Now, let me tell you something.
Now, before you say anything, we got half the hour, but we got all the power. Look, we just stirring the pot a little bit. I know people out there like, oh, man, these people crazy. I'm turning off the show.
Don't turn it off.
Well, I say that you should stay, right? Because if you don't get challenged, then you won't ever grow. The growth is going to happen in the challenges that are presented to you in life. And if you keep living in the same mindset that you've always lived in, then you won't get any further than where you've gotten already today. And so Radical Radio is just here to challenge your mindset and see if we can grow some people up a little bit, because you might be missing out on your blessing because you're looking at the sex of the person who's about to bless you. You just can't allow what they look like, what their gender is, to determine whether or not God is about to give them a word for you. So, PK, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure that people know, before they cut the radio off, that this is intentional. This is about us making sure that you understand that God can use a donkey, so he certainly can use a woman.
Yes. And I welcome the hate mail.
Yeah, that's right.
I welcome it all. My email address is pastork@radicalcity.org. And it's not
Don't pull up on my wife. I'm trying to let you know. Y'all better watch it.
It's not a debate. It's really a changing your thinking.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing that the enemy tries to attack. Is he tries to attack your thought process. If you take it back to the garden, that is what he attacked when it came to Eve. He changed her mindset.
Yeah.
Her mind was focused on all good things, all pure things, and he entered in and okay, I'm gonna jump ahead, but back to focus on the call of a pastor.
Yeah.
I read some comments about this very subject, because there is I'm gonna call the church out, Saddleback Church in Lake Forest, California. There's some controversy going on there because the pastor that retired, left his church to a woman. And now the Southern Baptist, denomination,
conference, coalition, or whatever they call
the thing.
Yeah. Right. We ain't even in all that.
Right. Has decided to disown the church.
Right.
And this is a mega church with mega influence. And and so I'm reading some of the comments as I read this, and it kind of went from them denouncing the church to how pastors and co-pastors have this title, and how they felt like a lot of women got the title of co-pastor by default.
Why? Because they was married to the husband that was the pastor?
Married to the husband of the pastor.
No, but
when I tell you I got offended, let me tell you. But it is factual. Some people do. Yeah, some people do.
I'm not denying that.
You have a lot of people that are sitting in those positions that aren't called.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people that are sitting in those positions and got the title by default. And my pastor, when this happened to us, and he said that we both were called, but he wanted me to know two things. He wanted me to be careful of what title I use, because he wanted to make sure that if I called myself one thing, that the people still got the other thing from me.
Okay.
But he also,
and just so they know, what's the other thing?
The first lady portion.
Okay.
Because they still needed that nurturing.
Got you.
And pastors, honestly, most times can't do both. They can't nurture and pastor, because it's like you can't be your mom and the dad.
Right.
A dad is a dad.
Right.
And a mom is a mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he also said that people are going to call you what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have to say pastor such and such, because it comes out.
Right.
Which is why I chose PK.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it was, cool initials, but both. I wanted them to know that I am as close to them as a mother, as a spiritual mother could be. And nicknames are enduring. Right. And they're nurturing. But I also wanted them to know of the calling on my life. And I think that I've accomplished that with my congregation. But I did not get this title by default. And so when people have asked me why I don't use the term First Lady, for me, I say I'm more than an event planner and an arm piece.
Okay. All right.
That is in my mind.
Now, is that what you think first ladies are?
That is what I've seen most of them become, but one.
Okay.
But one.
Okay.
And I'm specifying that. Most of them are in charge of Missionary Day and Women's Day and this day and that day, or they immediately come to the ministry and start to build ministry within there, but they don't necessarily have the pastoring role.
Right. And I want to say that, for any of those first ladies who might be out there listening, now this is not an indictment on you being a first lady.
Experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in that, I'm just saying that if you're not called to the office of pastor, then it is best that you be a first lady.
Absolutely.
Like, we have to stop getting into the thing where we want to do things that we aren't called to do.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, I don't want to just have a title just to have a title.
Hate it.
Our thing is all about function, because titles can be thrown on anybody.
Absolutely.
But if you can't function as a pastor, then don't try to be a pastor.
Absolutely.
Be a first lady. Be the wife to your husband, and the
best wife that you possibly can be.
Can help your congregation grow as much as you can help it grow from that standpoint.
Yes.
And if that encompasses you planning events like Women's Day and Mother's Day and, those different type of things, then do that.
Yes.
But don't allow it to, put you in a box, so to speak. There are just some women that are called to the office of pastor. And with that being said, labeling them as a first lady puts them in a different category.
Absolutely.
Because pastoring and first lady is two totally different things.
Totally different things. And it just recently just happened to us. We were having service. Someone came to visit afterwards, and they saw our flyer on they saw our picture on the back of our flyer. Mm-hmm. And the visitor said, "Oh my gosh, that's the first lady." And someone corrected her and said, "No, she is
the co-pastor." That's right.
And the lady face got wrinkled up and was like, she didn't really know the difference.
And I believe that's the issue with a lot of people.
Yes,
a lot of people don't know that there is a difference between a co-pastor and a first lady, right? Again, that's a part of the stretching that we're trying to do, because people have been going to church all of these years.
Church and
don't have a clue about what it is that's actually happening in the church. And so when you automatically assume that the wife of the pastor is one or the other, then you're putting yourself in a bad position, because you don't even know what you can go to that person for.
And you're putting them in a box.
Exactly.
Don't put me in no box. I'm going to tell you, do not put me in a box.
Because you can do all things.
All things.
All things. That's what the words say. That's right.
All right. So listen, seriously, all jokes aside, I want you all to consider that. And here's another way of thinking about it. If you are a first lady and think that you are called, that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just sit in that pew and be silenced. Because listen, I was silenced. My daughter looked up at me like, no, you can't just assume.
Not by me. Hold on, let's get it right.
Not by you.
All right. Let them know.
But you can't sit there silenced and say this is his time.
Right.
This is his calling. I'm just here to support.
Right.
Because you will die from the inside out.
Not only that, there are people that are attached to you,
that need you,
and your call. And so if you don't ever answer the call, then there are some people that won't be rescued. As great as there are pastors out there that are big name pastors, and I won't name big name, but y'all know who big name pastors can be.
Yeah.
If they have a spouse that's attached to them that was called to also be a pastor, and that spouse doesn't answer the call, there are some people that no matter how big your name is, you will never reach, because those people aren't your assignment.
Right.
And so if they're not your assignment, they won't even be able to come to the Lord with what it is that he's calling them to, because the person that he called to get them there won't answer the call.
Wow. Wow, that's
and that's dangerous, man.
It's very dangerous.
That's dangerous. This church thing is not a game,
and so that's why
people's lives are attached to us.
Yeah, that's why I told my church that I was going to have a class, church and just a church class. We're not going to call it that though, but I really want to have a class to tell people and explain people what is what. Because people don't know, like you said, people don't know the difference between a pastor and a first lady. People don't understand the difference between why we raise our hands in surrender, or what's the difference between praise and worship.
Right,
like people
right.
think praise and worship
is the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
People don't know the different postures of prayer.
Right.
People don't know why. Listen, I remember. Listen, this is not funny. You all may laugh at me, but I remember when my best friend passed away of COVID. Okay, best friend over 30 years, passed away of COVID, and a group of us hung out together. A group of us grew up together. It was 9 of us. She was the first. She was the second one that passed away out of my friendship group. And we get to the funeral, and all of the people that we grew up with was there. All of the pastors, the deacons, the deaconess, like everybody was there because I grew up Baptist.
Okay.
So we arrive, and they are like talking to all of us and was like, what are you all doing now? I know y'all in the ministry, da-da-da-da-da. And so they just kind of going down the aisle, like talking to all of us. And I remember them going up to one of my girlfriends. I'm not going to say her name. They went up to one of my girlfriends and they were like, well, what are you doing? Are you preaching now, teaching now, Sunday school, Bible school, what? And she said, no, I'm an elder now. And 2 of the older women that I went to church with said, what is that? Like their face was all tore up, and it was like, what is that? But here's the thing. I don't even, I just looked, you know, I'm an observer, right? So I just looked. What was worse? I don't know what was worse. Their face being torn up because they didn't know what it was. Or her face being taken aback because she couldn't explain
what it was. Yeah.
She was something that she didn't even know what it was. It was like, it's kind of like, it's and I was like,
that's what I'm talking about.
I'll be right back. And I just walked away because I didn't want to stand there with that fool.
Being somebody that gets a title put on you and you're not having the function to go with it, you could never explain it.
But it was ignorance on both sides.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the Baptist world don't know what the non-denomination world is doing, and the non-denomination world don't know what they doing.
But they can't understand the other way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's two different worlds. When God only called us to be one people,
one thing.
He called us to be one people,
human
right?
Race.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you get into all of that, then you start to have to battle, like, what are we really doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what goes on in my mind.
Them against us and all that.
People need to be saved.
Yes, that's
Their
it.
souls need to be saved. It doesn't matter what your denomination is. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your sex is. God said, go out into the world and tell all these people about me.
And it doesn't matter if you woman
That's what I'm saying.
or man. He
Sex,
did not
race,
qualify
denomination, none of that matters.
He did not qualify it.
None of that matters. And so we gotta get ourselves together, people. Like there are people who need to see and realize who they daddy really is.
They have no clue. And no one can get to show me where it says that only men can teach the word of God.
Ain't nowhere in the world. They're never going to be able to show you that.
They cannot.
They're never going to be able to show you that.
But they can't even show me where it says that the only people that can preach the man of God is circumcised.
No, no.
You get what I'm saying? Because you know how the Bible
it would have to be a male in order for him to be circumcised.
That's my point exactly. Because they can't.
There's no way. Yeah,
that is my point.
There's no way, because there were plenty of women in the Bible that God sent out to preach the word of God, right? And so when you talk about Deborah, Like she was a judge, but she was preaching the word of God.
That is absolutely correct.
Like there are plenty of women. When you talk about Esther, you talk about all of these women, these good women of God. They were, even if they didn't go out and say I'm preaching, they were preaching the word through their lives.
Yes.
And people don't realize that sometimes that's the best preach that we could ever give, is that we live the life that exemplifies and glorifies God, and that allows people to see, oh, it's something in them that's different than what's in me, and I want to get that thing on the inside of me. Let me go talk to them. Let me go and find out what it is that they got that I don't got, so that I can get closer to him. Look, man, I'm trying to tell you, if we don't get out of our own way, we are going to leave people behind, and it's not going to be nobody's fault but ours.
Absolutely, and especially if it's your calling.
Especially
if it's your calling. You have to take heed to the calling on your life. That's whether you're a man, that's whether you're a female, that's whether you're a child, an old person. It's not too late.
That's right.
Because if you didn't do what you were supposed to do when you were younger, if you're still living, you still have time.
You got time. Radical Radio all up in your business in this Women's Month of March. And so that's our time, folks. But if you ended up sticking through with us, if you listened to the whole show today, then please let us know what you feel about the topic. Reach out to us, radicalcity.org. You can holler at us anywhere you want to on social media. Radical City, some form or fashion of it, whether it be Radical Family, Radical City.
We're on Twitter.
Just get with us and talk to us about it. Let us know. And even if you don't like what we said today, let us know that too. And we'll argue with you, because we choose violence every time we step in the booth. Look, y'all, we're glad to be here. I'm Pastor B and this is PK. I'm the ball and she's the chain, or she's the ball and I'm the chain. No matter how you say it, we ain't going nowhere. We catch you next week.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us today. Find us on social media and make sure to never miss an episode. Join Pastor B and PK next Saturday on Praise 106.1 FM and help us in creating a better world. Till next time.